welcome to the What Not Why podcast, Jesse.
Thank you, Natalie.
It's good to see
Gl-
you. It's been a while since we saw each other in class, so it's fun to reconnect.
Yeah,
So tell the audience what they need to know about you, what you want to share, and then we can get started.
sure. Um, I guess for most of my career, I've been a mechanical engineer, and I joined my friend's company out of his living room when he was starting up uh, a tech company, and that was in 2001. And then, so I spent most of my career growing this engineering, manufacturing, design company, and um, yeah, until we got we're at about 170 people now. And 2 years ago, um, I started to, um, growing a company in the business and engineering. For a long time, it brought me a lot of fulfillment, and there was a lot of creative work, and I really look forward to going to work all the time. And then, something started to shift a bit, and just the idea of growing the company more didn't really bring me the same fulfillment and excitement. And I was kind of starting to look for some kind of work where I'd have more connection with people. And so I had a coach actually at my work, and I got some great help there, like finding clarity for myself. And then, I got really excited about coaching. And so that's when I searched for some coaching, some places to learn coaching, and found Canada Coach Academy, which I think is Coach Academy now.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Doing a little
yeah.
brain shifting. So that's
And so
yeah.
I signed up and took the yeah, leadership and performance coaching program. And you were
Hmm.
my teacher.
Uh-huh.
And I learned a lot there. And that was kind of the start of my coaching career and the transition to coaching. And that's been a couple of years. And where I'm at now is I still work about kind of very part time at Zaber Technologies, it's called, the company that I helped grow. And so I work maybe 10 hours a week or so. And I do some coaching there. I have a few clients there. And then also outside of that, I have other clients. Clients. So um, I coach some engineers and people in leadership and engineering and technology companies. That's kind of a big part of my coaching focus.
Interesting. Well, and so I think your career path is so well, it's fascinating because it's hard to grow a company from 3 to 170 and you seem to have been on that ride. What was that like in those days growing like people who listen to the podcast, I know they think a lot about building their own business. They think a lot about what it takes to do that and to grow something, maybe not to the scale of 170 people, but even just, to have a practice that is thriving. What do you think it takes?
Yeah, good question. Um, well, when you ask that, what comes up for me is I remember a lot of the doubts in the beginning. And so, well, in the beginning, we all had side jobs too. So we would have like one sale every few weeks. Um, we had one or two customers when I started. And we all had side jobs, and I remember um, just thinking, oh, is this actually going to work out, or is it really going to happen? And I think probably for several years, I probably had doubts about whether it could be successful even. And um, so just, sticking with it, and I guess trusting the future to unfold as long as I keep going down that path, and learning what I have to learn to make things work. Um, Eventually, two customers turned into four, and then eventually we'd get sales. like weekly and then eventually daily. And at one point, we were all able to quit our other jobs, and it was a full time company. And then um, yeah, so I think one thing that it takes is being comfortable with the unknown and not seeing the not being able to see what the destination looks like, but still moving in that direction and trusting that things will unfold. You keep moving that way.
Mm. Yeah, that's really it's so important to trust the process. Like, I know I'll never forget what Steve Jobs said about looking backwards, you can make connect the dots easily, but looking forward, it's much harder because you don't know, right? The unknown is still, in front of you. What do you think the relationship is now that you know coaching, you've been through certification, you've been coaching? What's the relationship between like a resilient mindset that has you keep coming back day after day when it's tough and you're not sure if you're going to get the customer, you're not sure if you can pay the bills, although you have a second job? Like, what's the relationship between a coach mindset and maybe, that willingness to sit in the unknown?
Yeah, I I think about that now a lot because uh, I'm going through like a similar transition, and I'm pretty early in my coaching career, and I still have those same doubts. But the yeah, I think the coaching mindset, and I still work with uh coach. I work with a coach and well, some different people in different capacities. But one thing, I think part of the coaching mindset is being able to accept the fact that you can see the outcome that you want, maybe, and um, but not necessarily the clear path how to get there. Um, and and being comfortable with not seeing that path. So I think, yeah, when I think about coaching with clients I work with as a coach, um, when they talk about where they want to get to, and then they don't see a clear path yet, and part of me is saying, "Oh, geez, I'm the coach. I should be able to help them figure out what that path is." But part of me getting better at coaching is just being able to accept the fact and help them accept the fact. Okay, so you've got this place you want to get to, and there's these things in your way, and right now we don't see a clear path, and but it's still um, helping them accept that too, and just knowing that taking finding a first step, which they find for themselves, will start to kind of illuminate that path. And after you take the first step, then the next step often becomes clearer.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm kind of going off in a bit of a tangent from what your original question was,
No, no,
but
that's
that's
good.
kind of what came
Well,
to
and
mind for me.
actually, it led me to think, engineering is a very technical background, and coaching is much more of the open space, the feeling space, the inquiry, the curiosity. What was it like for you to shift from being the expert in the room to being the coach who sits in that, no cherished outcomes position? Like this is about you, for you mentality, and not you the expert in the room.
It took a while. Yeah, I think engineers are problem seers and problem solvers. And I noticed that in a lot of meetings at work, people jump right to, okay, how do we solve the problem? Engineers
Yeah.
uh, seem to do that. So yeah, I naturally, in the beginning, I remember starting the class too. I think a lot of us students wanted to have the solution, and so yeah, it takes some work and some building up some trust in people that they'll find their own solutions, and what they really need is to, I think what the benefit they get out of the coaching sessions is really just to be seen. And when they have like a space to be seen without judgment, they can, yeah, then um, things like insights kind of, they come up with their own insights. But yeah, it was hard to go from, yeah, trying to, yeah, problem solver just to trust that people will like be able to solve their own problems.
Mm, it is a good point. Trusting people that they have the resourcefulness and the wholeness and the capability to do the work and solve the problem. And that's really, at the forefront of the coach mindset. I'm also curious about what brought you to coach certification. And I think you mentioned it was you being coached. So, what was it about you being coached that you felt you wanted to know more?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think I just valued that time sitting down with a coach and just being able to have that time and space to kind of shine a light on my own issues. And yeah, the connection there. Um, yeah, just being seen and having that connection and feeling that, um, kind of feeling that energy in the room with the other person. Um, yeah, I was, after a bit of coaching, I was like, yeah, that's something that I really want. There were other things in my life. Earlier, around the same time, I was also part of a kind of a men's group, compassionate witnessing group. And so we would, and we still meet. There's just three of us friends, but we share an issue, and then we reflect back to each other, and and yeah, we reflect back to each other and notice like what emotions are coming up for us and what emotions we see in the other person. And so that was um, part of the yeah, the my desire to like have more connection and things like that. And coaching seemed like a great way to do that for a career.
Mm, compassionate witnessing. That sounds really interesting. What one?
Yeah. So yeah, a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist, he was part of a group, but um, someone coined the term. But yeah, the process is basically one person talks. Sometimes we have a topic for the week, or else we just come up with what's on our mind, and we'll have start with a meditation check in, um, maybe just a body scan check in, and then one person will talk about what's going on for them, something that's bringing up emotions for them, and 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 talk through that. And then the other two will just reflect back. Okay, when you talked about this, saw you, uh, I saw you kind of light up here, or yeah, you kind of got heavy. You had this heavy feeling here, and you were kind of slouched over. And
Mhm.
just at the end of those sessions, um, yeah, we all generally just feel kind of seen and a sense of connection, and leave with kind of a light feeling going away. And there's,
That's
yeah, a lot of similarities to coaching.
I was
For
gonna
that.
say it sounds a lot like the space created in coaching for people to be witnessed.
Yeah,
Um,
and there's no generally there's no advice or anything. It's just seeing each other, really being witnessed.
mhm, mm. Well, I do have to ask this question because of your background and your expertise, which is, and a lot of people are curious about, exploring what is the answer. What do you think the role of AI is in coaching, if it has one at all? And what do you think about when you think about AI and this work?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm still making an opinion on that, really, but I use AI, yeah, to help me generate things, content and things. And um, I see people using AI for coaching. And um, I also got trained in IFS, internal family systems
Yeah.
therapy after Coach Academy. And yeah, people use it for that too. And yeah, I see some benefits. Um, I think one thing it's it doesn't provide, I think, is that connection, um, that sense of that human connection. And there's something about even over video, just the energy between different humans seeing each other. Um, there's something there that the AI isn't quite able to do, I think. But it can give some good answers. And now that you mention it, there was some things stressing me out the last day or two, and I have people to turn to, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll just quickly see if the AI can help me with that. Um,
How'd it go?
I haven't tried yet.
Oh, okay.
I kind of forgot until you mentioned it, but um, yeah, I guess it's evolving quickly, and I'm curious to see where it goes. But I'm not worried about it replacing humans. I mean, people want human connection.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but yeah, it could
Yeah.
replace a lot of types of work and everything, or make things more efficient. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's
What do
still
you think? What do you think
well,
about
it's still
AI?
evolving. Yeah, it's still evolving for sure, but what I do know is that compassionate witnessing that you're talking about is not like, even if technically AI can observe you and notice, it's still technology. It's not a person that you can relate to and feel and have energy with. And, I believe that it matters where the source is coming from. And that, sympathetic nervous system response isn't going to happen with a technology. It's going to happen with people who see you, who truly see you and hear you. I'm not worried about it replacing coaching at all. I do think, like you say, that there are many ways to improve or make more efficient the process or you know, the the coach's work. But at the same time, we have to be so careful of ethical, obligations to our clients with putting anything into AI about anybody, for sure, never using names. And we have a responsibility as coaches to protect confidentiality. So it has to be treated very carefully, and then there's the inherent bias. I mean, the lack of control of where the data comes from. And this, what I notice is, in our courses, we have assignments and we have projects, and they're now only in the last year looking more and more alike between students, and they never did before. They were so unique before. And now, because people are using AI to generate either research or imagery or, references, that everything's coming out the same, very close. So generic is a big word that comes out to me. Like, it's for the masses, it's generic. It's not, if you want to be unique, if you want to have your own identity as a coach, you don't want to be using AI, because you're going to be sourcing from the masses, the most common denominator, right? So it's, to me, it needs to be used as a tool to add efficiency, perhaps, or something to your practice. But certainly, I mean, my worry for humanity is that AI takes over critical thinking. Just like the GPS has taken over my directional skills. I do not know north from south or west from east. My GPS does, though. Or, I don't remember phone numbers because my iPhone takes care of that now. So I'm worried for people to rely or over rely on AI for their critical thinking. And it isn't, there is hallucinations. There is data that is incorrect. I mean, I've done research with AI for papers, and if I don't go to the source and find the source, which half the time doesn't exist, by the way, it comes up,
Mm.
makes up a source, but we have to be fact checking and double checking where this information is coming from too. So,
Yeah. And when you say that, yeah, I'm reminded of, yeah, even when I get AI to generate some content, write me a thing about this. Yeah, it's kind of, um, yeah, it's not my voice. And I have to be, oh, and I'm like, oh, that's someone else's voice. And yeah, a concern I have is like, is that just kind of going to be the average of all the voices in the world or whatever? And we just all end up with this homogenous voice uh,
well,
yeah,
it's
for
a risk.
communication.
Sure, because a lot of people don't know how to prompt AI. Like there's some skill there too, right?
Hmm.
Specific prompts, telling it what voice you want. Who are you when you're answering? Whenever I prompt AI, I always say, you are an expert in neurology. You are approaching this from the position of an expert. This isn't like, pop psychology. I want you to produce, something that is very, grounded in response. If you don't do that, you will get a wide variety of pop psychology if you're prompting for something about neurology or, the mind and the way the mind works. But that's, still to be learned. And people need to understand that, especially now with the new release of Chat GPT. Is it PT or TP? I don't know. PT.
Chat GPT, yeah.
Yeah. That it has memory now. It has this. I'm noticing that it knows who I am. It knows my profile. It knows what I like, what I don't like, and it will tell me when I prompt it. Well, I know you don't want this, so I'm going to give it to you like this. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's new. But I've heard recently of if you don't something privacy that you have to check off if because your anything you prompt will be used for training the algorithm, I guess, of gathering information. So, and it could end up in a public Google search without you knowing. So your information is really exposed. Anything you put in there, and we have to know this. We have to protect our privacy. What about identity theft? Like, there's so many layers that have to be explored. Yeah, and it's moving fast, right?
Oh, yeah. So when you think about Coach Academy, is there anything, yeah, do you have concerns with AI related to
No, I think
having a
actually
school?
no, I think it's actually exciting. I'm looking at ways to bring in AI for coaching simulations. AI mixed with VR that can create an opportunity for people to do some group coaching practice without having a group of people. You know, but my project is all about isolating data. I don't want it to scrape the internet. I want it to scrape the data. I have 9 years of data. So, I have a big database that can be private and remove the risk of, um, just having any kind of information in there or the chances of like foul language or religious views or you know, um, cultural isms, I guess I'll call them, and, stereotypes that emerge. You can't filter that out from a chat search because it's not there yet, right? The bias is in the data. So, because we're human and we have human bias everywhere. People who write stuff online, websites, articles, they all have bias and that's not being filtered, right? When we're asking
Hmm.
them. So I'm excited to look at ways to bring AI into training and to improve and augment the training.
Yeah, sounds like there's some real possibilities there. Yeah, with all that data you have, like over the years, and so many recordings and your all your documentation and literature and everything.
Yeah, we have a lot. I have a lot of research that I've done. I have a lot of there's a lot of I think there could be some really neat ways to use it, especially when you think about team and group coaching practice. Um, people want practice. They want to learn the skills, and you don't learn this stuff in theory, right? You've got to be able to use it. And so creating simulations with avatars of people that you can feel like you're coaching an actual group with personalities and, programming profiles in each of the avatars to create some like, chaos and confusion, conflict, and really have a coach be able to, and then, you have a little avatar of me show up with as a mentor, reciting the competencies and making observations. Like that would be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that vision. Looking forward to seeing what shakes out there.
I don't know. Yeah, it's all kind of twirling around right now. But I know a lot of students joke about having like a little like me or a facilitator on their shoulder when they're coaching. It's gonna be funny to see an avatar of that with little horns for the devil or a halo. That would
Yeah.
be yeah. So tell me, what's your vision for you as a coach now? What's your plan for?
Um, I've been kind of branching out in different directions and experimenting a bit. And so I guess one, I'm staying open to new opportunities, but kind of the main things is coaching, yeah, engineers and um, people in technology companies and leaders. Yeah, some so entrepreneurs and leaders. I work with some people there who are just kind of at a transition point. I have a couple clients who've had built successful kind of companies and then are trying to figure out what direction to go in there that and find what brings them fulfillment. So a lot of people are really have a part of them that is really driven to succeed, and that part can kind of dominate and kind of take over the other parts of them that want that want to relax and enjoy life more too. So coaching some people there. And yeah, I mentioned IFS, internal family systems. I'm starting up I have some clients in that area. And I'm starting up some small groups, 3-person IFS groups right now. And there's some appetite for that. And yeah, I'm really I'm kind of passionate about group coaching and team coaching, actually. So I was excited to hear that you're developing some group and team coaching um, courses, I think, at Coach Academy, right?
Yeah, we ran our first course, which we got some great feedback, and I think it went well. And now we're running our second one in October. So it's fun. It's actually a lot more fun than I anticipated.
Ah,
Yeah, it's good
yeah.
work.
So one thing that really excites me is growing this technology company. We did it in a way that we were able to build a culture that we really liked and have a place where people like coming to work.
Hmm.
And so at some point, I talked about the journey there, but at some point we realized, oh, this is actually successful now, and we've become successful. And we now, and this company's really made it. And what's important to us. So with the other leaders, we were kind of all on the same page. Well, what's really important is making a great place to work. And so, and that comes into the hiring and the culture and just making it a place where people look forward to coming into work after the weekend or after a holiday. And so people are doing roles that they're passionate about. And we've been lucky enough to bring in like really talented people, and that's what makes it successful. And so I just see so many companies out there that seem to have a mindset, um, almost like employees are a resource. And um, yeah, and I think you can be so much more successful by, um, you know, like treating employees well and having a good culture. And when people are excited about their jobs and coming to work, it's, I think you can be way more successful than when people are just there for a paycheck. Um, there's so many
Oh,
benefits to that. And so I'd like to, um, help spread that around. There's systems and ways you can kind of have design your culture to make that happen. And so I'm excited about working, trying to spread that more too in the world.
oh yeah. It's so, you know, bringing people together in companies is a science. Like, it's so dependent on your culture, like your values and what you're hiring for. Like, I heard you mention you're hiring for talent. What else, like, what does talent involve for you? Because for me, when I hire, I think attitude is so much like more important than talent, honestly. People can learn a lot when you give them the space and the time to do it. When they have the right attitude, they're invested in that learning and they're engaged and they'll want to do it more than the person who comes in who might have expertise but the wrong attitude, is there for the paycheck, is there for, just to get it done and leave. And that, like, what's your experience with that?
I guess one part of that is finding people that show that they're passionate about that kind of role. And so, whether it's hiring engineers, often will look for people who uh, have done projects and they really get into it and dive deep into it. Besides just kind of doing their regular courses in school, which that was me, just try to
Right.
get the get my degree. But yeah, people would really get excited about these projects and um, dive deep and learn something to a deep level in some way. And so yeah, when we find people like that and bring them in, yeah, it doesn't matter if the new if their role is exactly what they've done before, or if they have experience in that exact type of engineering or role, but just showing that they can like dive deep into a project and be passionate about it, that
Mhm.
that's usually a really good sign and what we look for. And I had another thought observation, but oh yeah, something we call a unit presidency. So we have a decision making model. And so we try to empower everybody to make decisions, be able to make decisions. And so the first thing is, okay, pretend you're the CEO of the company, for this decision you have to make. Yeah, what what input would you get? And we kind of have a framework for that, but it helps get people, instead of people being, oh, just tell me what to do. We want them to take some time and get all the information and make it, consult with the right stakeholders and make a decision. And when you have people thinking like that and they're kind of considering the bigger picture in the company with all their decisions, it takes some practice and training, but then it becomes easier for leadership to be able to walk away. You don't have to be micromanaging everybody. Like the company gets full of presidents basically who are like trained and used to making good decisions.
Yeah. Oh,
And then
that
it kind
is.
of grows on its own like a tree. Like, yeah, instead of needing to micromanage everything.
Well, and that probably goes a long way to your culture where people like to come to work because they get to feel empowered. They get to own their, their time there and contributions and create value. I mean, isn't that where innovation is born, when you give people the opportunity to make those decisions? I love that idea of giving them the pretend you're the CEO. That's a really good framework. What did you call it? You said it was
Uh, Unit presidency. So
unit
I'm not sure
president.
where that term came from, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're the president. and yeah, unit presidency.
Mm. And so in a company as big as 170 people, what else do you think is the secret to teamwork and synergy and, people wanting to come to work?
Um, yeah, well, when you say that, I think of teams, and we've definitely had times where we kind of have a silo effect, and different teams are, kind of there's conflict between different teams,
Okay.
and so yeah, I think about it's important to yeah sit down with the teams and yeah do some work there, and with each team really dig into um, who are your customers for the team, like what's your purpose and your job, and who are you providing what for. And sometimes the different people in the teams have different ideas about what they're there for and what their job is as a team. And usually when you dig into that, you realize that, oh, my the main job of our team is to support this other team and this other team. And so going through that process brings a lot more alignment between the teams. Um, but I think, yeah, there's a whole like uh, there's a ton of stuff you can dive into there. I think, but that was the first thing that came to mind for me.
Well, and it sounds like you're creating safety as well. When you have conflict, it's important to that there's and I mean you will have conflict in any groups that come together, people who come together and gather. So the likelihood of conflict is high, right? At some point. What I remember Google had done a study, I think it was called the Aristotle study, and they had talked about like they looked at their teams and asked the ones that, a poll of all the different things that they thought were important around teamwork, but really focusing in on the ones that were doing really well. And one thing out of everything came up over and over for successful teams that were enjoying the most success, and that was psychological safety. And I wonder what the role of psychological safety is, and what is that even? Like, how would you define psychological safety? What do people need to feel psychological safety? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really important one. Um, yeah, a few things come to mind are, well, being able to try things and make mistakes. And
Mhm.
so I think, yeah, that's one of the things in our that we try to instill in the culture is, yeah, allowing people to try things and make mistakes and learn from them. And so, um, yeah, and I think part of yeah psychological safety is, well, we have a feedback model too. So being able to give and receive feedback in a respectful way. Um, so and being encouraged to give and receive feedback. So
Mhm.
things, yeah, when something is uh, bothering you, yeah, there's a mechanism there, and you don't have to let it fester and boil away and for months and months before you resolve the thing. Um, but yeah, when you say that psychological safety, I also think about managers and how, yeah, it can be really helpful for managers to have a coach approach too, and have managers to have some coaching training. And I think that helps with psychological safety. Um,
Mhm.
just being, yeah, with your reports and one on ones, just getting curious about them and helping them uh, solve their own problems and feel empowered and feel supported.
Oh yeah, yeah. It makes me think of the other quote from Steve Jobs who said, "Why would you hire really smart people and then tell them what to do?"
Yeah.
Right? Like it's this idea of the coach approach to leadership is really about using the talents you have on the team, right? And not taking over with your expertise and your own experience. And it's hard to do because most leaders are appointed to leadership because of their subject matter expertise, not necessarily because of their people skills or their connection skills or their observation skills or their ability to empower others. Part of it maybe, but it's a bit of a paradox, right? This idea that what people see a leader as and what truly impactful leadership is. I think there's a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that reminds me, I made a guide on engineer to leader guide, and, yeah, I've seen it. I, and I interviewed a bunch of people at our company who made that transition and, and from
Oh,
and from coaching and stuff, so it's quite yeah, oftentimes, like, fast-growing technology companies, they they're just they don't take the time to often or have the time or decide to invest the time to invest in management. Like they're just moving really fast and want to develop the next product and market it and get it out. And so off, yeah, like I think a lot of times leaders are just yeah, technical people that are thrown into the leadership role because the team got big enough and now they need a leader. And so, oh, can you do it? You're good at your job. And people find that yeah, then they have a new job, and I find like being a manager, sometimes at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I can't think of anything useful I did today. I was just busy all day, and
yeah.
yeah, reacting, and
Mm.
it can be hard when you're going from being a technical contributor. Um, yeah, there's more. You have like a more tangible things that you're doing all day, and you're creating and developing, and um, yeah, and then yeah, there's all the things that you need, like what your team members need from you as a manager. Um, those are different than what you provided as a technical contributor. So yeah, I think getting trained in those are really important.
Yeah, so I completely I have a lot of empathy because I've been there where you put people in positions because you're growing and because you have to fill, those leadership roles. What I would love to see that goes with that is what you're saying. Like, okay, you're a leader, but maybe you don't have experience there. Let's give you training to be a good leader, to be skillful at leadership. And I think the problem is that we don't see leadership as a role on its own. We see leadership as a blend of the subject matter expertise with an assumption that that person's good at, empowering people or leading people. But that leadership piece needs training. It needs, like for example, I see so many people come through our programs and they're leaders and they're CFOs and CEOs and really, have established themselves as professionals in their field. And they're always almost shocked at slight shifts they could make to be more empowering for others or develop more connection or discover the talent on their teams with open-ended inquiry instead of closed. Like there's little tiny shifts, we call them, those 2 or 3 millimeter shifts that make a huge difference. And if every leader had at least a little bit of training in that, then they could be a subject matter expert and a powerful leader. So it's
Yeah,
an idea that I feel like there's no um automatic response to training leaders. We just expect people to know how to lead others. And I think that's the assumption we're making that is ruining a lot of teams and a lot of companies.
yeah, and when leaders learn those skills too, like it has such a big impact. It can have like the team performance can be like dramatically better when the leader like has some of those skills, like yeah, to
Yeah.
empower the team members.
Yeah. And I see like we have all kinds of our community is focused on adult learners. We have highly educated people in our community. We just did a demographic study. We have, most of our clients are between the age of 45 and 65 with at least a bachelor, if not a graduate degree. These people are accomplished. They come into the program and they're like, how did I not know this? No one ever showed me what real listening is. No one ever taught me, an open-ended inquiry versus closed, or the damage a why question can do, or, like they talk about this work and how, the first person that changes truly is themselves in understanding what effective communication is. And that's the other reason why I think AI is never going to replace coach training, because coach training is all about being a more effective communicator. It's a linguistic tool. So as long as there are humans on earth who have to accompany and partner with AI to communicate what AI can do, because I mean right now AI definitely needs an interpreter when it comes to, especially to like, specific, skill or knowledge. There has to be a coach and a person who can communicate effectively. And I think coaching is that. It's really the language of influence, the language of connection, the language of leadership.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I wish I had my got my coaching training a lot earlier, because I used to manage teams, and then kind of around the same time I took coaching training, I kind of started transitioning, and I left the executive team, and yeah, was able to hand off teams for other people to manage. And so, but yeah, I would have been, yeah, a better manager. I wish I could have put some of those things to use when I was managing teams.
Well, and now maybe your position could be the shadow coach to the leadership team that's there, because that's also a super effective way of helping people raise awareness. Like a leader doesn't know how they show up because they're so focused on their goals, their KPIs, their outputs for the team or for themselves, what's going on, in the company at that time. It's hard for us to be aware of how we show up, what language we're using, facial expressions, interrupting others, allowing space. So, shadow coaching is actually a field that's growing quite a bit, in the sense that a coach comes in to observe and witness and mirror back what they see while a leader is running a team meeting. And that observation and that reflection raises tons of awareness for that person to then start to work on, competencies of leadership that they want to bring in to their role.
Oh yeah. Now that's coming back to me now that you mentioned that. I got a couple people to shadow coach me over the last couple of years in meetings, and yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah, it's a great awareness piece, right? That's the thing. We don't know what we don't know. We can't change what we don't know. And I mean, Larry Page said it too from Google. Like he said, everybody needs a coach for that reason, because you don't know what you don't know. And there's no, I don't believe that there's any cap or ceiling to what we are capable of when we continue to grow and evoke awareness in ourselves. So that is definitely an opportunity.
Yeah. And I guess a barrier that I see when you talk about shadow coaching, there is a part of me that feels like I should know how to do everything right and be doing it right. So, and I think it's probably not uncommon. People, um, when it comes to giving feedback and everything, people don't like to have their faults uh, pointed out. So it takes some getting used to be able to like take that feedback and input, be able
Well,
to
and you
change your
raise a
behaviors.
really good point. You raise a really good point, which is why choice is a big part of coaching. Like the person has to choose to be coached, number one. And number two, our old feedback models to me are archaic. I did write an article on a meta study that was done on feedback. The meta study was of all a ton of studies that were done on feedback, and what the finding was that less than 30% of feedback is actually effective because of how we deliver it. And what you're saying, like it's an assault to people's, their self perception. When I say to you, something that maybe I noticed that you didn't believe about yourself, now I'm suddenly putting you on the defensive. quickly with my feedback. So that's why I think there's the coach approach to feedback needs to be brought in. Even when somebody elects to be coached, you still want to create that safety of delivering because if they can't hear it, it's not going to help them, right? So you have to be, so what did you notice about yourself in that meeting? And what are some of the objectives that you would like to set for yourself as a leader? What is the impact that you want to have? And what behavior, so by asking the open ended questions, about the person's own self concept. And then you could say, well, with permission, here's what I noticed. And was that the impact you were looking for? Like it doesn't have to be a laundry list of like, you did this, you did this, you did this, you know what I mean? It's a, it's a, it's a partnering way to deliver feedback that I don't think people have, like a lot of companies have embraced. Not
Yeah.
most people just don't know, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, when you talked about traditional feedback models, I noticed how my own feedback style changed like after taking coaching training. So before it was more like, oh, when you did this thing here, this was the impact on me. Um, and it kind of, and I've almost probably totally shifted away from giving adjusting feedback at all. And it's been just replaced by curiosity. So so if someone did something that impacted me negatively or from my point of view, I know that there's, um, most of what's behind the scenes, I am blind to. So just getting curious, I, I just start asking about getting, genuinely curious about what was behind their decision in the situation. And generally that just brings me more clarity on like why someone else made a decision and that it wasn't to screw up my life.
Yeah. I mean, you can find out so much when you ask people before assuming, right? So yeah, I love coaching for teams, coaching for groups, coaching for leadership. I think there's so much potential for organizations to embrace a coaching culture. I've seen it transform schools. I've seen it with teachers and leadership and education, and there's just so many possibilities.
Yeah.
But see, I have a question for you because we're coming to the end of the podcast because I have a class to teach. But I do ask one question of all the guests, recently anyway. And that question is if you could ask one question of the universe and get the answer, what would it be?
Yeah. One question. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is knowing the outcome. And we talked about it earlier. But now that I ask that question to myself, um, I I realize that I don't want to know the outcome, and so the mystery is a big part of what's exciting about life. So yeah, it's almost like I guess I had a question for the universe, and now I'm happy not knowing the answer.
Okay, you don't wanna know the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes, be careful what you ask for, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I'm happy to wait to see how it unfolds.
Okay. So where can people reach you?
I have a website, rechargecoaching.ca,
Oh, nice.
and that's the best place to find me. Yeah, and
Okay, you're also on LinkedIn, right?
I'm on LinkedIn. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, we'll put your contact in the notes, in the description, and people can, reach out. But I really, appreciate your time today. I really loved catching up with you, and I can't wait to see what you do with the coaching in your, next steps.
yeah. Thanks. I really enjoyed this today too. Thanks for having me.
Great. Yes. Come back anytime.
Thanks.